Welcome to a new session of Business Meets Live. And today, all the way from Australia, we have amazing Cissy Ma with us. Now, Cissy has met, interviewed, worked with amazing people like Oprah, Steve Wozniak, and so on. Now, I gotta say, Oprah is definitely my role model. You're my role model too. Now, Cissy, can you share a couple of moments with us, or stories or advice that you actually got from these kind of people? And thank you for making time for us.
Thank you very much, Jenny, for the introduction and for the invite to speak. I really enjoyed our interactions, and I think we met, back in 2019 or 2020.
Yes.
I think it was 2019. We met at a book signing queue. Yeah. So and since then, we've been following each other. I've been following you on LinkedIn and the socials as well. And I saw all the great work that you're doing and the amazing interviewees that you've got on your podcast. So I was very honored that you invited me to come on into your podcast as well. So yes, I have interviewed the likes of, well, I actually haven't interviewed Oprah myself, but I have met Oprah, and that experience was a great experience as well. And I got invited to speak in front of a group of people at a wealth conference. And
Ooh.
normally you have to pay to go and see Oprah, but I did get paid to actually see Oprah. Now that was a surprise. So Oprah actually came after my speech, and she went to support her better half, which is Daniel Graham. They've been together for 45 years, I think, and
Impressive.
she never actually dropped in any of his gigs before, and so that was the first time she actually turned up at one of his events, and she came in, and it was like in secret as well, so people didn't see her, and she was like sitting right next to me in the front row, and he was on stage talking about his leadership principles, and
Yes.
he's very left brain person, and Oprah is such a right brain person. So we were
Mm-mm.
very, very lucky that when he finished his speech, the black mentor, who was the one who put the conference together, actually
Yeah.
invited her to say, "Hey, we want to honor someone in the audience to come on stage," and he got a surprise. Stedman was surprised to see Oprah as well, but
Yeah.
she invited on stage. They sat down, and she was probably, because I was sitting in the front row, so she's like less than 10 meters away from me. So you kind of feeling very close to the person that you idolize all your life as well. So that was a great moment. And she started talking about the challenges with life, how to overcome them, and also one of the greatest. I know I've seen her so many times, right, on
Yes.
the 25 years running, and she had such a difficult life in her earlier life, but now she's like just out to support people, to help people, and encouraging people to just follow their heart and for the world. And also, I think the biggest piece of advice that I got from her was actually to, like, don't take things, don't take failure as failure, and just keep
Yes.
going. And I know that we've heard that so many times, but every time when it comes out of Oprah, like, I just feel like so. She's such a person that this type of advice just comes so naturally, and also it just kind of make you connect with her, and you feel so energized and so moved afterwards that you just want to say, hey, I'm not going to take failure as failure.
Yeah.
That's I think her words were like they were a stepping stone to success. And I think one of our coaches, also JT Fox, also said that something like failure, you don't fail until you quit. So you're not failing, you're just on a journey. So I think that's really
Wow.
good advice.
You
Yeah.
just literally empowered us, and we're just starting this podcast. This is amazing. Now, for our listeners, can you quickly introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit of your story. I mean, we have met, 2019. That's crazy. It's a long time. And I know you have like some Chinese background, but you are in
That's,
Australia and you're an
yeah,
extremely successful
yeah,
businesswoman. And I would say such a role model for many of us women,
yeah.
independently of nationality. So tell us a bit about your story.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Yeah, I was originally from China, and I actually grew up in Jinan, Shandong province,
Mm.
and then basically in 1988, I think I went to. This tells you my age, but 1988, I went to Tianjin University, not Nankai University in Tianjin to study university, and then I decided to I didn't finish my university in Tianjin, and then went
Yeah.
to Australia to continue my study. And when I finished my university study in Australia, I liked it so much there because it's just right not there here. I
Hmm.
decided to stay after that. So 1991 to 2024, I've been here 33 years. It's a long time. I've been here way longer than I was in China. But I always
Hmm.
consider myself as a Chinese Australian or Australian a Chinese in Australia or Australian Chinese. I don't know how you
Yeah.
say it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I,
That's
obviously have my Chinese origin and culture. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're mentioning this because sometimes when people are expats, when they live in other cities, they are not quite sure, like, what is my identity? I mean, I
Yeah,
am German, but I have a bit of Eastern European blood, lived in
yeah,
several countries. So,
yeah.
what exactly would be your identity?
I don't really subscribe to that, clear identity thing because I think,
Uh-huh.
when you're in a country, you really need to fit in, as in you basically work with the people here because Australia is actually really multicultural and
Mm-hmm.
multinational. And, I remember my first job, I started working, not first full-time job. I used to work in universities to teach as well as
Yeah.
tutor. But then I had my first full-time professional job, which was after I graduated from master's. And the first job I got was a advisory team of Queensland Treasury Corporation, which at
Mm-hmm.
that time we had 10, I think 10 or 6, 12 people in that small team because within a large company. But that team is actually only one person out of that team was born in Australia. The rest are all born from everywhere else,
Oh.
part of the United Nations of QTC, because we are so diverse. And that diversity really helped because we were able to, get things done on this, get with so much differences of thoughts, then you actually get a
Mm-hmm.
better result, better understanding. And I think it's because of that I was able to actually get ahead in the organization. They were in that
Ah.
organization because traditionally, if you go to a traditional bank in Australia, it's very much like white male, 50,
Mm.
in the senior exec. But the team
Yeah.
that I got in was actually a lot younger and a lot diverse. So there was
Mm.
no kind of control on us, not control, but not your typical stereotype.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. It was really interesting because later on in life, I got interviewed by someone on radio. This was
Yes.
maybe in just after 2000, so a few years after I worked there, and they asked me, "Hi, do you feel it was a Chinese radio station?"
Mm-hmm.
And back then, like there's not so much as like your uh self-made videos and radios, etc.
Yeah.
There were proper radio station, right? Back in 2000. So he basically said, "Hey, do you feel any racial discrimination in your workplace?"
Yeah.
And I actually said, "No, I don't feel it. I don't know
Wow.
if it's me or is it just like that environment. Because if I was discriminated against, I wouldn't have been in the job for 3 years, and I got promoted to lead a team of 20
Mm-hmm.
people, and freshly out of graduate and
Yeah.
3 years into the job year 1999, I was managing the GST implementation, which is the goods
Mm-hmm.
and services tax implementation. It's a huge
Mm-hmm.
thing. I don't know if you ever went through a tax, like a new tax implementation thing into a multi-billion. I think it was $16 billion at that time. That organization is sort of owns 98% of Queensland government's debt. And
Wow.
I was asked to say, hey, Cissy, would you like to lead the implementation project? And I said, are you sure? I asked my boss, are you sure? I'm only, 3 years after graduation. And he said, I think I think you can do it because you are so good at
Mm-hmm.
managing projects. You're so good at getting people to do what they are supposed to do. And
Mm-hmm.
okay, all right, well, I'll give it a try. And yeah,
That is impressive because we always, like me coming from the Western world, we always see the USA as the country, like, the American dream where you can achieve everything. And I think China for me is also like where you can achieve everything. At the same time, now that I was able to experience Australia, I really got to say, wow, people are so open and nice. I see these opportunities. Yes, a lot of very hardworking, like immigrants or people from different cultural backgrounds. Now give us a couple of more numbers, please, of also the work that you do nowadays. And I know you've worked in so many different industries and
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I guess my job right now. I started this company called Grow and Sell Your Biz back in 2018, and after basically a long 20 years of working in large corporates and listed companies, public, I guess government enterprises and private like accounting firms as well. So I've got
mm-hmm,
experiences from both the like principal level in buying businesses, representing a company to buy a business, to
yeah.
then a company to sell businesses or even IPO, like a $5 billion IPO. So over the last 28 years, I've worked in 17 plus $1 billion of mergers and acquisition projects. I haven't counted any
Wow.
of the structured finance transactions, which are not your typical mergers and acquisitions. We've done some cross-border leases, for example, used to do tax arbitrage between the US and Australian government legally.
Mm-hmm.
You get the ATO and the IRS to say, yeah, this is a good structure, and we
Yes.
get 7% in upfront NPV benefit for projects, and we're talking about $4 or $5 billion projects. So these are big projects. But in terms of
Mm-hmm.
M&A, mergers and acquisitions, I actually started this business back in 2018, and because I thought I was helping, I used to work in one of the largest Chinese accounting firms. They wanted to
Mm-hmm.
start a team in Australia, so I headed their M&A team, so mergers and acquisitions or corporate finance team here. But there were, basically limits on what the type of clients you can help. That there is a limit on how much revenue they have to get to before we were able to help them. And I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, well, I can help billion-dollar companies do deals, but that's like kind of a drop in the ocean, right? But then if I'm helping a couple of million a company to go from a couple of $1 million to $4 million to $10 million, that is huge for that entrepreneur, right? It's really giving them
Yes.
different life and giving the people surrounding them a different impact on their life and on everybody else around them. So I felt like
Mm-hmm.
that is the SMEs are not getting sufficient help when it
Yes.
comes time for them to either raise capital to grow their business, or to actually, if they wanted to sell their business or they want to buy another business, they might be, when they try to sell their business, they might be saying, oh, I want to retire, tomorrow. How much
Yeah.
can get my business? But if they haven't prepared for the retirement or prepared for the exit, prepare, getting their houses in order, then when they sell their business, they're not going to be able to get a really good multiple that is, times on their earnings a year, for example. Like if you're trying to sell your house, right? And you don't just say, hey, I'm going to sell my house tomorrow to the first person that comes to the door. You actually spend some time, paint the house, you do the structural inspection, make sure there is no, white ants or things like that, and you fix them up before you get ready, right? Because you know that when it's presented well, you get a better, outcome for that.
It's super, super impressive. And I mean, you just talk about this as if it was like easy peasy, and it's just wow. I know you've been doing a lot of like mentoring. You had your own organizations that you build up in Australia and beyond, like to mentor women. You also do the mentor walks. I saw we have this in Shanghai and Beijing as well.
Oh, right. Excellent.
So how can we actually achieve what you have achieved? And this has nothing to do with being a woman. Like, what would be the right path to later work at such huge deals like you do?
Well, I don't, I didn't, when I went back and had a look at my, history or experience, I almost like fell into the job, it wasn't by design. But then when I started working in the job, I think the traditional Chinese ethics or work ethics that really is one that brought me, up against the others, right? The other people surround me. Like if I'm given a task, I will make sure that that task is done to, 120% satisfaction. I'm not there. I'm not happy with just 100% completion. I want to complete it, ahead of time, within budget, or ahead of budget with, a lower cost, etc., or something like that. So it is the work ethic that started me in my career, I think. But I think later on, like a few years in my career, the first person who believed in me was my boss at the time, Peter Gallagher. And to this day, I still am very appreciative. And we are actually still talking, we kind of catch up every now and then as well. And so I see him as a mentor in my very early career. And he so much believed in me before I believed in myself as, being the leader of leading others rather than just leading myself. So I think later on, when I got asked this question in CPA, for example, I'm the deputy president for CPA Australia, who has 172,000 members. And when people ask me, hey, Cissy, what would you tell your 20-year-old self? And I said, actually, it's a really good question. The first time they asked me this question, I thought about it.
It's a coaching question.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. But then it's a good, self-exploration question. And then I thought, okay, what really made the difference was the mentor. And, like Peter was my mentor. But I think if I actually, back in my early 20s, if I had intentionally gone out and sought mentors and coaches, I probably have been granted. I got to a listed company, a $5 billion company, or actually when I left, it was almost $10 billion. That company, I was the chief of staff for the CEO before I left. So I was quite high in the, I guess, in the command chain back then. But if I had, earlier career planning, very beginning, I think I'm pretty sure I would have gone to even higher, I might have become a CEO of a listed company rather than become a, chief of staff to the CEO. So I always say that is the reason that I started the group, which is called the APAC Women's Mentoring Circle, is to actually combat the double whammy of bamboo and glass ceilings for women. Right. Although I've opened it up to men as well. So Asian men, you can come in, APAC men, because of our cultural differences, in that we always think, oh yeah, hard work will be noticed, but no, in the Western world, hard work is definitely not enough. You have to go out and tell people what you do, and make others recognize you, notice you. And if you don't do that, you're not going to get ahead. And this is in career life, but it's the same in the entrepreneur life, right? If you just do your work, really good work, you get a few good clients. But if the rest of the world don't know you, how can they reach out to you when they need help? So that's why I really believe in the power of branding as well in the entrepreneur life. Mentoring, branding, get those out there. Yeah.
Well, okay, mentoring, branding, these are already good tips. I mean, we spoke a lot about diversity already. And I find now I understand why you do all these other things that you give back to society, to not just women, even like Asians, because you understand the benefits of different cultures and how to use them together, and also the weaknesses. That's super impressive already. Oh, by the way, I really like Jinan, your hometown. I've worked there with a local university, and this was actually, I started right before the Shanghai lockdown. We started working with this Jinan University, and I was supposed to be there every single week. And then the Shanghai lockdown happened, and then like the 6-month program was mainly online. But yeah, I like Shandong people, and definitely your hometown. Now, my next question is, you just mentioned something interesting. You kind of fell into these other jobs. And I'm just wondering, like, I don't know, if you have religion, if you're religious, if you're Christian, or if you're an atheist, or if you believe in the law of attraction. I mean, Oprah also like talks a lot about these kind of topics. So I'm just wondering, like, being like falling into this, and these opportunities just happen. And of course, you have amazing work ethics that I can see. Like, do you think there was a higher force behind that, or I just was curious on the wording that you used?
Yeah, no. I maybe that wasn't. For me, I was brought up as an atheist, as you know, in China. That's what we are. Well, traditionally, anyway, the majority of the people in China are atheist. But for me, it is more. I believe in good karma. I believe in, when you give out good karma, when you give to people, you will receive somehow. But it may not be today. It might be years down the road. There's like this good circle. If you go give, then you will receive. Like, I think every year I get invited to a lot of those Christmas events, for example, the raffle and door prizes, etc. And I just always get, like, okay, well, this is really surprising. I got a door prize again. I got a door prize again. And I was wondering, and why is that? And someone basically said, oh, that's because you've been giving so much of yourself, your time, and your money all through the year. And there's just something that comes back. Okay, all right, well, that's great. But I give without the expectation of receiving. And I just feel like when I give my time in APAC Women's Mentoring Circle, in Coreless, which is the Women Entrepreneurs Group, where we invest in women entrepreneurs, or in mental walks, or in Orange Beach Circle, which I started not too long ago in Brisbane. It's a global circle now of business people, Chinese business people to start with. Anyway, you give time, and then when people wanted something done, when they have to sell their business, for example, they will think of you because you are there to help others. They will think, oh yeah, she can help somebody else. Surely when I have something that I need help on, she might be able to help me as well. So that is that's what I'm.
The power of community, the power of giving, and wow, good karma. I agree. The more I talk to you, I'm like, I think for me, it's so difficult to find a mentor. Especially here in China. I mean, from the expat side, there's a lot of men here who are in the higher positions. There's not too many
Yeah.
women. And especially
Yeah.
in Shanghai, we have female networks and they're amazing and great, but I always see so much jealousy, so much competition. And then I was thinking when I had started with my own company, I was like, I want a mentor. And it was so
Yeah.
challenging to find somebody. And I was thinking, well, the mentor should be number one, Asian or Chinese, because I'm a foreigner in China, and number
Yeah.
two, a woman. Those
Uh-huh.
like my two criteria, and it was
Yeah.
very, very challenging to find somebody like this.
Have you been to mentor walks in Shanghai
Yes,
or Beijing? Yeah, yeah,
yes,
'cause you should be able to find some women there as well. Because, it's like like-minded people, we attract each other, right? And the
yeah.
other side is I don't think you should limit yourself to Asian women. You can definitely
Mm-hmm.
go for the Western men in China.
What happened?
Yeah, you need to
Those were
find.
my mentors.
Yeah, that's right. You need to find a male champion for change, someone who can help you, who become your sponsor, even, sponsor you through your life or sponsor you through your, businesses, will work with you on your businesses. Yeah, we got JT, for example, he's our coach, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
definitely. Mm.
I'd like to ask you, and thanks again for telling me this. That's really good advice on how to find the mentor, right? How do you get access to all these like huge investors? And I mean, you often need investment of not just a few 100,000, but like big ones.
Yeah, yeah. It's all. I guess I worked in billion-dollar transactions previously, so 20 odd years. So I built up a network of people that are in those type of transactions. So it's actually easier for me to look for investors for projects over $100 million than
Mm-hmm.
like $1 million or a few 100,000 because those
Interesting.
larger companies, it's really interesting because there are like the larger companies actually they need to deploy their capital, right? And
Mm-hmm.
instead of writing $1 million checks, they'd rather write $100 million check because they will need to go through so many hurdles for the $1 million, $100 million checks. But with $100 million check, they might take a while, but they have with $100 million projects, typically you have all the
Mm-hmm.
due diligence material, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a team behind it. But with a $1 million project, you like the proponent may not have the right financials, may not have the right people. So it's always like that. So for me, it's the existing network that I already have. And then when I've got 26,000 something, 500 connections on LinkedIn. A lot of them
Mm-hmm.
are, private equity, family office, and high net worth people or something like. It's not just a job site. LinkedIn is not a job site. It's actually for us, for business people. It's really good to actually connect with people that are that have the experience and the investment um, for larger transactions as well. But
Mm-hmm.
that's really good. When I started my own business back 6 years ago, I actually had to start afresh with a new, fresh, basically a blank canvas of smaller investors, for angel investors,
Yes.
like investors that would write $50,000 to $100,000 checks rather than $100 million checks. And so I went out and did, campaigns to actually identify them and started building relationships with them. And
Mm.
that's there. And I was able to raise some small amounts, like 500K from 5 investors, a million from a larger, SME, sorry, a larger high net worth investor for, just before the pandemic, 2019,
Mm-hmm.
2020. And one of my clients is the pet, basically Airbnb for pets. I think I pitched
Oh.
one of the JT's events. in one of the top one events, and in Hawaii, I remember that, and actually got to get to the I think you were there, the Mega Success in 2019. That's where I met you. But during the Mega Success, the 6 days, every night I was texting this guy because this investor is 2 hours north of Los Angeles. He's in Santa Monica. So I was texting him every day to say, hey, we've got this entrepreneur event. This is this person today. We've seen this person today. Do you want to come down? The next day I sent him a few pictures to say, hey, do you want to come down? Every day he say, oh, sorry, busy, can't really come, but enjoy your time. And so the last day, just before, when Mega finished, the last day I was there at 9 a.m., I thought, I have a day to spend in Los Angeles. What am I going to do? I'm going to drive up. So I hired a car, drove 2 hours north to where he is, got to, I don't remember whether it's KFC or McDonald's, one of those places. I'm here already. Do you want to meet for 15 minutes? So I waited for him, another 45 minutes later, he said, yes, come up. So he's got a penthouse overlooking the bay or something. And we basically ended up talking for 45 minutes, and then he decided to invest in this company after that. And if we want that particular experience, this particular Airbnb for pets may not be able to continue because what happened in February 2020 or March 2020? Yes, everyone's staying home with their pets. They don't need the Airbnb for pets anymore. So anyway, so that's what $1 million is, a small amount in a drop of large transactions, but it could be something that saved the startup. That's what I'm striving for, because I feel like, I went the extra mile and actually made that transaction happen. So if I didn't do that, we will have one really great startup that is no longer in place.
And I love how you said, like, going the extra mile, and you're super persistent and communication. I just had a guest lecture at a French top business school in China. It was all about business communication, and I repeated that over and over again. And we had the Paradox Museum opening here in Shanghai. One of our common friends and coach also invested in. So I took my students there and showed them in different ways how you can over deliver, how you can give value back, on how you basically said it. And just sharing this example, I definitely share this with the students because this seems to be like one part of your success. Now, we have seen so much of your successes, and I love it, and I've learned so much from you. Would you mind sharing one of your biggest failures with us? And I mean, like JT, he always says, right? I mean, there is no big failure to learn from it. And exactly. I'm sure you also have a story for that.
Yeah, no, I haven't thought about this one. But I did feel like I failed. This is very recent. I was invited to speak in Singapore, and this is like only 3 weeks ago, the New Opportunities Summit. I think you might have seen some videos and some photos of it. So I was there and I did the speech, and I think the speech was good. I mean, people are saying afterwards that they really learned a lot. They really enjoyed it. But I was asked to actually deliver a speech with a view to, present a program. So I presented a couple of programs, which is one is a 52-weekly webinar that I will be running in, coming in the next 52 weeks, not immediately, but, when the program gets running. And, to basically help people, guide them through how to buy businesses and how to look for what are the pitfalls and what to experience and how to negotiate and things like that. With my, 28 years of experience, I have a lot to give, to help people, take people through that process. And it was only a 998 Singapore dollar program for 52 weeks. And I had a few interests afterwards. But I only sold one. So only one, and there were a room, I think maybe 150 people thereabouts. So it was a good room. But then when I thought think back, I asked the first question when I started the whole thing. I said, how many of you are entrepreneurs who already have a business? Out of the 150, only 3 people raised their hand. So out of the 3, I did sell one. So I guess I'm 33% successful in that room. But I guess the learning from that is actually thinking about, what is the audience, right? The audience, the majority are actually foreign exchange traders, commodity traders, and stock traders. So they're a different part of the investment, almost like the portfolio, because investing in business is something that people don't normally think about, right?
Yeah.
And when they're investing, in the stock exchange or foreign exchange, in those fields, they're very much about a process, about algorithms or things like that. So I think for me that was a failure in that I didn't convert more people. I think from a learning perspective, I learned that, to really think about the audience of the people I'm talking to. And maybe I should have changed my topic, learning how many people are, not there, that there isn't enough. So I wasn't agile enough to change the topic. I guess I couldn't really change the package then, but I could have changed it so that to say, hey, maybe you don't have a business, but have you thought about how you allocate your wealth? How you actually you want to accumulate, you want to build wealth, but in building wealth, getting them from the foreign exchange, getting them from the stock market is one way of building wealth. Going into business or buying an existing business is another way, which existing profitable business would be a much way and safer way, given that 50% of small businesses fail in the first 5 years. So you don't want to be the 50% failure, right? You want to be the 50% success. And I didn't really hone into that part of the thing. I just went straight on to talk about the structure and the things that I will be teaching. And I see a lot of nodding heads at that time. Everyone was, picturing, was taking pictures of my slides. And so I didn't realize that was the case. So I think I'm learning from that. And I'm going to run more webinars from there. But I'll be targeting the people that are interested in business rather than people who are only interested in stocks, stock trading or things like that. Yeah.
I'm so happy you're sharing this with us, because when I give trainings on public speaking skills, on communication, I mean, this is one of the first things we always learn, that I tell students, or I mean, even like executives that I work with, or teams, I tell them this over and over again. And then again, we make it, we forget about it, right? It's so basic, but it's so powerful about the target group and everything. Thanks for sharing.
And give them value of time. Oh,
I know you have a meeting coming up. I'd like to ask you 2 last quick questions. Number 1, we spoke so much about your success, and we have learned so much from you. I really appreciate you for these sharings. Now, I'm a big believer in happiness and success, because when you're happy right here, right now, you also have better chances of becoming successful. What do you think is like the key to living successful and happy life, or what is your philosophy on happiness, or what makes you happy? I'd love to see your opinion on that. And I know we don't have much time left. It's a huge topic.
No. That's all right. It is a huge topic, but I am very 100% agree with you about the happiness and the link between happiness and success, right? And I like one of my I have three principles in life. So one is positivity. So three P's: positive, persistent, and proactive, or positive, proactive, and persistent. They're actually on my WeChat kind of profile. So those are the three things I think that are the most important things for a person, right? So you got to be positive, and I think positivity and happiness are interlinked. So if you're positive about things, you see the glass half full rather than glass half empty. You'll be looking for the positive things out of the whatever happens to you. And with that failure of only one conversion, I can see 1 out of 3, which is the 33%, right? That's not a huge failure in that respect. At least I got someone who's forking out money to come to my webinar, right? So always being positive. And the second one is being proactive. It's looking for opportunities to solve problems for others and solve problems for yourself. Or by solving problem for others, you're actually solving problem for yourself, right? So that is, I feel like proactivity is what really got me where I am along the way as well. If I wasn't proactive, and I wouldn't have got a lot of the opportunities really. With that $1 million investment, it's a small investment, but if I didn't proactively go out and being persistent and keep on going and going, I wouldn't have got there. And with this particular venture that I'm into with the webinar, I'm also going to be persistent. Even though it was a test case, I'm going to keep going and keep being positive. I think when you're being positive, then you'll feel happy. When you see, you'll see what you want to see. And yes, there will be times that you're down and you kind of doubt yourself, definitely. Like okay, well, why is it that people are not buying my program when it's such a good value program? I've got so many people saying that it's like unheard of, because I used to charge $500 per hour when I was this is 7 years ago when I was working for the accounting firm. That's 500 AUD per hour back then. So if you increase the inflation, I'm talking about 1,000 Singapore dollars. So why aren't people buying? Okay, well, why aren't they buying? These are the potential reasons. Let's deal with each of them. How do we actually get them ticked off as well? So just going, right? And then you oh yeah, it's not a failure. If I keep going, then I will succeed, right? And I'll be happy. And as soon as I start teaching people, like seeing people learning things, seeing people succeed in their endeavors, I'll be happy as well.
Good. I love it. And I mean, that's why we probably always get along so well from the start. You're always positive and smiling, and I really like your value. Why have you decided to come join my podcast? Because you're speaking all around the world in stages in Singapore, not only Australia, USA. You are in Forbes and everywhere else.
Yeah. No, I loved it that you've got some really good podcast interviewees already, and I felt like okay, you invited me. That's really I'm honored to be invited. And the other thing is that you are in China, which is my home country. And I really, like to keep that bridge going. And I love it that you have a lot of audience there. Even though we're speaking English, I'm sure people will be able to, get this translated. There are so many softwares nowadays that you just see English and then come out in Chinese. So I wanted to, use this platform to spread the message to more, Asian women or Asian people, or, people who are maybe not not your typical mainstream people, that just do it and don't give up and keep trying, be positive, persistent, and proactive, and yeah, and then you have a happy life, as you know, your tagline, right? Yeah, because I've seen, as I think I started to say that because I saw you in social media as well, that you know you're always very happy as well, and that's what I believe in. So I think we're aligned in that respect, and I love that about you.